And welcome, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Here's another episode of What Now? It's been a minute. I've been kind of slowing down on the lives. We're moving towards the end of the year. So, I'm tired. So I'm definitely looking to take the days off from the live. So I will start back up in January. But I have a few more to go. So it should be interesting because I'm going out with a bang next week. But today I have a special guest by the name of Paul Stewart. You may not know who he is, but he has been very, very, very influential in the industry with his entrepreneurship and his smart, savvy street knowledge and all of that. He actually started as a DJ. He's a businessman. He's an A&R. He's a publisher. He's a producer, and he's also. Oh, he hits me up right now. And I'm waiting for him to come in, but I'm not sure if Instagram is actually letting people know that I'm on live because nobody is coming in here. Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, I see Paul in here as well, so I'm just gonna get him in here. Let me see, because they changed all the buttons on this thing. Let me find out. Okay. Great to see you in here. This should be a very inspiring talk. So if you're up for it, stay in there. Very excited. Very excited. Hey, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for wanting to be a guest, and you're on time. Love it. Love it. I don't have to do my monologues that are very awkward. So I'm very excited. Are you in LA right now?
No, I'm in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, you're back there. I thought you were back in LA.
I come back to LA tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Oh, so wait a minute. So the time, it's not even 12 p.m. out there.
No, it's like 4 p.m.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were back in LA, but you're just going back and forth, I guess.
Yeah, I came here for a couple of weeks. So yeah, I got some kind of unfinished things to do here and things, and a lot of friends and family here. So
right.
I came back for a short trip, but I think I'm gonna be in LA for a minute because of things are starting to really take off for me with this trailer.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Because I know most of the pandemic you've been in the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
So because I know you and I have been like in touch, and I see all the little clips and stuff from over there. Looked great, especially
right.
Being in a pandemic. I'd rather be on an island than over
right.
here. But
right.
how has it really affected you personally and professionally?
Well, it's definitely slowed down my work. The music supervision employment that funds my existence dried up, and
right.
I've been shooting this documentary about. I've been going into some of the most like impoverished barrios in Santo Domingo, the capital of Dominican Republic,
mm-hmm.
and filming with musicians there, and kind of creating a documentary about how music thrives and comes out of these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And so I continued shooting that when the pandemic started, and slowed down a little bit because they put some pretty strict. I mean, we have curfews and stuff out here and everything.
Right.
But I continued to shoot a little bit, especially right when it happened in the States. It was not so much here, so I was still filming there. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I haven't been making money and I haven't had work, so it kind of forced me to focus on some projects that I've wanted to do for a long time.
Right.
Hence, the trailer happened,
Right.
So I kind of had to focus inward and see, well, what can I work on? I mean, I'm doing this documentary film and everything, and that's cool. But this is something that I've been trying to work on for quite a while, and finally found the right partner to help me, direct the film and edit and everything. So yeah.
It looked. I mean, the trailer we've seen looked good. Again, we'll get to it. I got so excited seeing it.
Thank you.
Well, I thank you for sending it to me. I think I just screamed out loud, and I screamed to you in a voice note. I was just really excited to see that. Well, so for the people that are now joining us, thank you for joining us. I'm talking to Paul Stewart, who's pretty much a big deal, and or has been a big deal in the industry and been instrumental for a lot of artists and paving the way, I guess, on a business side somewhat.
Right, for sure.
I think I can say that safely.
Yeah.
When I saw the trailer, I knew some of the things that you had done, but I didn't know the extent of it, which is why I got so excited. I mean, you and I met through Brown, and so you were instantly like a good person, because anybody that Brown introduced me to is good. I don't have to, you know, do my own little research. That's why I didn't. He just told me a little bit about you. And we met up because you were doing the book publishing thing at the time.
Correct.
And so seeing this and having done a little bit of research about you and reading your bio, I guess this is a long time ago, so I kind of forgot, I guess. So when I saw the trailer, I got super excited because that story has to be told from an industry point of view, you know, mainly in my opinion. So I thought that was great. But we're getting, for the people, stay in here. We're getting to it. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's going to be exciting. For you to, you know, deal with the pandemic in the Dominican Republic, has that changed any of your health routines or your, you know, your day-to-day routines?
Well, you know, I've for a long time been like eating like, I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan or anything, but I eat very health conscious, you know, since, in fact, even way back in the 90s and when I was having all my big success with the rap artists, in fact, a lot of my clients used to kind of clown me, oh, Paul's eating a grass burger, and, you know, because I eat a lot of vegetarian meals and stuff, and it wasn't so popular back then, especially not in kind of like with hip hop people, you know, to be, you know, healthy.
Right.
So you know, I've just always been into exercise. I'm kind of vain, you know, I've always been into exercise. I want to look good, and the food. I went to college in Northern California and met like some hippie type people, and they kind of put me on to healthier eating, and I kind of, oh, this doesn't. I thought I grew up thinking anything that was healthy was going to taste bad. And so when I realized that wasn't the case, you know, and as my taste buds adjusted from eating like bad as a youngster, you know. But yeah, I mean, obviously I've been, you know, doing some social distancing and wearing masks and stuff. But, you know, I've also gone to studios and gone out and filmed and stuff, and have kind of, you know, kept moving, just tried to be careful and that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. So do you think that's different in LA when you go back? Especially now when they're talking about possibly a second lockdown in the States, depending on what states. But do you feel like you have to navigate differently when you're back there, having to do the promo and working on the film and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, LA's definitely kind of more shut down, but it's a little different. Like out here, they have there's been a curfew the whole time almost. So like we don't have a curfew in LA, but like most of the things are closed, and people's attitudes are a little more uptight or concerned. Maybe you know, is a better word, you know. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I'm just gonna have to make the best of the time, you know what I mean? And so it kind of is what it is. I mean, a lot of people are stuck inside, and so maybe more people watch the trailer. Like, you know, I got a pretty phenomenal response from like really important people that I've known through my career and that I've met more recently, and some that I didn't know. People send it to other people, and the response from like people that have the power to turn this into a feature film or even possibly like a scripted, loosely based on my life, like fictionalized
biopic
series. Yeah, well, series. Right. I mean, has been phenomenal. Like more than I could have ever imagined. And I think my timing has a lot to do with it too. I mean, Hollywood, and I'm gonna say this in kind of like, you know, without trying to be too negative or anything, but I mean, they insert white people in urban Black culture stories when they're not even there. So it's not crazy that they got excited about this story about a white guy who really was in Black culture, right? And with kind of the racial climate in the United States right now, which is at the craziest it's been in a long time, I think people are also excited and interested in like a positive kind of bridge building story about races, you know, that it doesn't have to be all negative and right. So I think I've benefited from that. I've benefited from the fact that the 90s and this whole golden era of hip hop, there's a big nostalgia for it right now. And so it seems like we're kind of the positive racial story, the retro golden era hip hop thing, and maybe even, you know, the fact that, like I said, you know, Hollywood loves a white person involved, you know, and like, you know, for me, it's always, you know, I'm the kind of person where I always kind of like looking at that sideways, but, you know, I mean, in this case, it's a true story, and if it helps me to get my story made, you know, hey, it is what it is, you know. I mean, I'm going to do Lord Jamar's podcast next week, and, you know, he has a very woke, pro-black like audience and podcast. And we were talking yesterday, and he was kind of like warning me, and I said, look, I already know I'm gonna get some hatred from it. Like, I already know, like, everyone is not gonna be on board, but I'm very comfortable to talk with you about these things because of my life experiences, and my philosophy on things. And you know, I'm not scared to have these kind of conversations. So we'll, you know, we'll dig into it, you know. And he's gonna ask me about people that are considered culture vultures, like other white people in hip hop. And so, you know, I'm gonna give my opinion on that. Some of it could be fairly controversial. So I think, you know, for him, it'll be he'll get some sound bites to help promote the thing, and some things that might be a little controversial. You know, I'm not here to like diss a lot of people. It's not really what I want to do. But at the same time, I'm not a good liar. And so, you know, if he starts asking me questions, you know, I'm probably going to speak my mind to the point of, you know, and probably will blast a few people out that maybe, you know, it just is what it is. Like, they should have been better people. They should have been better people. And now that I have this platform, people are, you know, they better be a little concerned.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because just as the topic that you're now bringing up about being a white man in Black culture, because you grew up in Black culture, you've lived it, and you probably had to sort of explain or defend yourself throughout your career, being part of Black culture and not taking advantage of it because you literally grew up like that. How do you respond to, well, not even how do you respond, but how will you respond to the people that have their prejudice or their judgment ready, not knowing your story?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I really haven't had to deal with a lot of that yet.
Well, that's
though
good.
I'm kind of inviting it now, right? Because like I kind of said in the trailer, you know, growing up in a Black neighborhood, when I got involved in the bigger hip hop culture thing, I was just always kind of assumed that I would be accepted. And I was helping a lot of people of color make a living from their art, or other like you know, I had brought in all these executives that, you know, started out as interns or employees in my company. And so I didn't really experience it a lot, to be honest. You know, in fact, like I was talking to Lord Jamar about, I mean, you know, as a white person, when there's white people that are controlling the music industry more or less, you're going to get some white privilege favoritism. And even though I didn't get as much of that as I would if I had been like the golf playing, you know, yarmulke whatever type of person, because I was definitely not, I still did receive some of that, and it probably outweighed the any kind of like reverse racism or prejudice that I maybe received. You know, they say Black people can't be racist, right? But reverse prejudice or anything like that that I received, you know. So I think I've been pretty blessed where I haven't run across a lot of that. The climate now is so different. And so now that I'm coming out with my story and front and center and everything, I assume to get a lot of that. And I'm just going to tell the story as it was. You know, I mean, like, you know, I dealt with the cards that were given me, and, you know, and have given back a lot and everything like that. So I don't, you know, because I haven't become near as like financially wealthy as like a lot of my peers, I'm a harder target. You know what I mean? Because like you could see all my contributions to the culture, and I don't even just mean discovering the artists. I mean like all the young people that I hired in my company that are now have moved on to other things and stuff. And so, you know, and because I didn't get rich off of exploiting artists or anything like this, you know, people can, I'm sure, and people will find things to get upset with me about or talk about, but
people will always
I'm not going to be an easy target per se, because some of the things that other white contemporaries of mine, you know, could easily get, you know, questioned about or whatever like that, are going to be a little harder for me. And most of the white people that are involved in hip hop too didn't grow up in a all black neighborhood like I did and live there their whole adult life. You know, when I went to college, I moved away, and now I'm back in the neighborhood. But when I had my success, I was living in Hollywood and all kind of other areas and stuff. But so, and I'm not saying I'm the only white guy that grew up in this kind of environment or anything like that, but especially in Los Angeles, it's very rare. LA is a really segregated city. In fact, everyone that when I was in the 90s, everyone thought I was from New York. And, you know, and it wasn't like, you know, I don't have any Crenshaw tattoos, and I'm not the type to run around and try to prove how down I am all the time and stuff. So people just, for the most part, always assumed I was from New York. And unless they had some kind of personal conversation with me and asked me, then that's what they would have walked. That's what people believed.
How did you end up in LA? What's the story of your parents?
Well, my parents, I'm second generation. You know, my father went to Inglewood High, which, you know, a little suburb south of LA. My mother went to Santa Monica High. And the reason how I ended up in the Crenshaw area was that when my father, when I was like one, my father bought the house in Crenshaw. And a really interesting fact I just found out was that the Watts Riots were in August 1965. And at that time, white people had already been moving out of South Central.
Right.
But when the Watts Riots happened, it was like on
everybody.
It was like mass exodus. So that was in August 65, and my dad bought the house in September 65. Oh, so much after the Watts Riots, he bought the house. And I mean, basically, he did it because he couldn't afford a house that nice in one of the other neighborhoods in LA. It wasn't that he was some kind of like beatnik into jazz and black culture. Far from it. You know, he liked
it was literally just the situation he was in. I can buy a house here. The prices are good now that everybody's leaving. Let me just invest in a house over here.
The location is very central for the city and where his job was and where he wanted to go. And it was beautiful. It's a beautiful home with a beautiful view of the city. You can see the whole
He was being smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was the type of person, he was very eccentric, and he just didn't care.
Right.
So it wasn't that he was excited about living in an all black neighborhood, but it didn't bother him.
Yeah. So it made sense for him to buy it at that time because of all the other factors that came into play as far as the job and, you know. Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I have an older brother. He's 2 years older. And, you know, the neighborhood didn't affect him the same way. You know, like my brother was really into rock when we were kids. And he turned me on to like rock music. So I grew up, you know, both hearing the music in the neighborhood and also loving the music that my brother was into. And like, you know, groups, I was a huge Beatles fan when I was like 13, you know, I knew all their music and stuff, you know. But, you know, my brother went on to become kind of a hippie. He followed the Grateful Dead around and like, you know, the neighborhood didn't rub off on him the way it did me.
Right.
And I think, you know, he was 2 years older. There were a few more white people around, but I think it's just our personalities, and just our experiences. You know, like, you know, we went to school. You know, we went to schools in the neighborhood where we were like the only white kids, but then they took us out and put us on schools in West LA where it was more mixed. I ended up actually went to Venice High in Venice, which was the most racially mixed high school in LA.
Yeah,
and so. You know, we went there. We had a lot of white friends when we left. You know what I mean? And so he just kind of leaned into that. And then when I was in high school, I met some kids from the neighborhood where we grew up, taking the bus home. And I started hanging out with them. And they were like turning me on to all the like funk music that was happening, that black people were listening to in LA at that time. You know, Rick James and things like this, you know. And so I was still loving the music that I grew up on from my brother, but then I really gravitated to that. And so And then I heard like Herbie Hancock Rocket. I still remember exactly where I was when I heard that song, and Rapper's Delight. And then I went away to college, and my first semester of college I started DJing. So that's, you know, and at that time though I was playing like a very diverse music. We were playing
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, new wave was like popping. So we were playing new wave and ska and funk and Motown oldies and hip hop,
Right.
you know, but it was a mix. And then as hip hop started to like, I remember when Rockbox by Run DMC came out, because I had this, you know, love of rock music and the guitar in there and everything. That's when it kind of just really smacked me upside the head. And I kind of started to go all hip hop, like, you know, and then the Beastie Boys came out, and you know, there were some white guys doing it. It was, you know, and their fashion sense was closer to me because I had been a skater and what those guys were into. And so, like the leather jackets and the whole Run DMC thing, I loved the music, but the style didn't quite resonate with me as much, you know. And when the Beastie Boys, oh wow, and so you know, but you know, I still loved all the music, but I just became really hip hop. You know what I mean? And started focusing on every hip hop thing that came out, and you know, we were having breakdance contests at college and DJing.
I'm gonna interject because I can let you talk, but you're gonna talk through the whole hour.
No, go.
I love it. I love it, but I do want to ask you questions.
Yeah, please. Go.
Let leave some for me.
Sure.
I know it's easy though. I love people that talk a lot because that makes my job easier. First of all, I saw the homie MC Nice come in here, who I've known for 20-something years. He said that you were his first real manager. Is that right?
Yeah. There's a lot of. I mean, I was a lot of people's first manager. Say, what's up? You know, and some of it worked out and some of it didn't. You know what I mean?
No, that's fine. I was just thinking that, you know, me being from Amsterdam, all the way across the ocean, there's so many connections and first degrees of separation that I seem to have with a lot of people, which is obviously it's well, he says he knew me as novelist. I knew you as novelist. So I mean, I met him in LA as well. Like when I think that was my first trip to LA. And so this is just, for me, I just love seeing good people know each other as well, if they're in my circle.
Big shout out to novelist for sure.
Yeah, and he's done a lot as well. Like, I have a live talk with him somewhere on my IG TV.
Nice.
Yeah, we did one a couple months ago. Okay, so you were already like going into your whole life story. I want to try and stick to some points before the hour's over.
Go.
What was for you the moment where you felt like this is my first success in this industry? What was a defining moment for you where you're like, I can make my money doing this?
Okay, well, it's interesting because I was House of Pain's like first manager briefly, and I got them their record deal, but promptly got fired for business reasons that were somewhat understandable. So I'm not here to talk bad about House of Pain.
Oh, we don't have to do that, yeah.
But shortly after that, I found the Far Side. And, you know, I got him a record deal where, I got a small advance commission. But then I was able to get them a publishing deal with EMI, which was a much larger deal. And that was my first real, I mean, until that time I was driving a beat up Nissan Sentra. And when we got that publishing deal, I went to Crenshaw Ford and I bought a big Ford Explorer, which was the Eddie Bauer Ford. That was the thing at the time. And so that was like my first check, you know what I mean? When I getting the Far Side, their publishing deal, after their record deal. So that was a pretty real moment for me. Up until then, I was eking out a living, you know what I mean? Before that, I had my street promotion company and a couple little jobs, but that's where I was kind of starting to just be like, wow, I'd never seen a check that big, never got a check that big. So
was that, so before that, me asking you about your defining moment of, okay, I can really do this. Before that, you were already doing a lot, but were you still seeing it as like, okay, I just love doing this. I'm not really consciously thinking about making this my job or my passion, my life. Was that until you got that fat check for signing the Far Side with the publishing deal?
The fact that I was even able to make a living when I got my first job, which was at Delicious Vinyl as an employee,
Delicious Vinyl,
Right. I mean, I was just like so stoked that I could make a living from working in hip hop. I never really dreamed that I could. That was just something I loved. I didn't know how I was going to make a living. You know what I mean? And
nobody knew that.
Right. It
At the
was
start
very,
of their career.
Right. There were no examples like Puffy or people like this around yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I was already, you know, had figured out that, you know, it looks like I can make a living from this and this and that. But you know, it wasn't quite as real until, you know, it really becomes real, you know. And I had, you know, I had my initial success, and then I had a couple jobs. Then when one of my jobs ended because the label went down, no one wanted to hire me. And I thought I had already done a lot. And that's when I started PMP street promotions.
Yeah.
So I was doing the street promotion thing, and it was going decent. But, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, I have to pay other people that help me. I'm getting a little bit of money from the companies. It's a real grind. You know what I mean? But, yeah, so, you know, I was already like kind of committed to it more or less, let's say. And then when I got that Far Side deal, I was like, okay, it's more real. It's becoming much more real.
Yeah. So one of the things in the trailer, people, if you want to see the trailer, go after this live, go to his profile, and I think the link goes to
the bottom.
Yeah. So when I saw the trailer, one of the things that really like blew my mind was the line in the Montel Jordan song, because we all sing it along. I've been singing it along since the 90s.
Right.
That line has been coming out of my mouth since the 90s, since the song dropped. And then suddenly realizing that I know the Paul he's talking about.
Right.
Like, that was, for me, I was just running around here in my house, hitting up my friends, sending them the trailer, because that was just wild to me. Yes, I know a lot of industry people, and yes, I'm friends with a lot of, you know, famous people, but this was just this is so different for me than knowing an actual artist.
Right.
You know, for me, the behind the scene, the industry has always been more fascinating because there's so much more to it. So that is one of the reasons why one of the reasons why I like knowing you.
Thank you.
And I never asked you for anything, because I'm like, I just admire what you do. I see you from the sidelines. And now hearing what you've done, not realizing that you were that Paul, that was just insane. And then I met Montel. I've hung out with him. We done stuff, you know. So that's just, for me, another connect the dots type of full circle thing. How did you get up with Montel?
Well, it's a pretty interesting story. I was working for John Singleton. I had met John Singleton, and he had. I was working right before I started working for John Singleton. I was working for Ice Cube. He had a label, Street Knowledge, and I was doing promotion and marketing for his label. And I was out DJing at on the set of a TV show. I had gotten these gigs. I was the DJ on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air TV show for the audience, and also the Martin show. And John stopped by one of the shows, and he saw this white guy DJ, and I guess he was interested. He came up, I think he liked the record I was playing, and he came and started talking to me. And then he found out that I worked for Ice Cube, which was obviously his friend. And, this was right after he did Boys in the Hood. Right. And he had just shot Poetic Justice. And he was a fan of I told him I managed the Far Side. He dug the Far Side, you know, like most people with good taste at that time. They were very new still, you know. And he said, man, I need somebody to run my new label deal. I just got with Epic and music supervise my movies. And I was like, yo, I'm here for it. You know? And so he called Cube, and Cube gave him the blessing, and he hired me. And Montel was a Kappa, and John was a Kappa, the fraternity. So one of John's Kappa buddies was like, hey, you got to check out this guy. You got to check out this guy. And so John was like, you know, made me take the meeting, you know, because he was busy. And that's how I met Montel.
Nice. That is so funny, because I would imagine that line that he says was actually true. You came up to him and said, let's make this money.
It kind of was. You know, it's funny because, like, it was a little bit of an awkward situation, because when I met Montel through John, and shortly after that, Def Jam made me this incredible offer to get my own label, open Def Jam West, and hire me as senior VP of A&R or whatever, right? So, and John, I was talking to Def Jam, but I hadn't agreed to anything yet or whatever, and John found out that I had gone to New York to take a meeting on a Monday, I called in sick. I came in Tuesday, and he found out, and he had me escorted off the lot. He was pissed. You know what I mean? So he fired me, you know, and then Def Jam gave me the big offer. So I didn't want to sign Montel because I already felt bad, like that John was mad at me. And he got over it, obviously, as we worked on a bunch of things later. But I didn't want to disrespect him further or anything like that. You know what I mean? And but John, the whole music thing for John was like a trophy. You know, he was busy doing films. It was like a cool idea. Like a rich guy has this like, oh, I'm going to have a music thing. But he wasn't focused on it. You know what I mean? And so when Montel, when I was at Def Jam, Montel's calling me. And I'm like, dude, look, I don't really feel comfortable like trying to sign you because I met you through John. And he's like, John's not calling me back. And so, well, if John's not going to call you back, you know. So I remember and at that time I had sent Def Jam Warren G already and this artist Domino.
Domino, I remember him.
Right, who had a hit. And so they were very enamored with me. And basically they were like, yeah, anything I said, they were kind of like, yeah. So they were excited about it. And they flew me and Montel out to New York. And I remember, like, Montel never been to New York. And we're meeting with Russell Simmons and Andre Harrell and Chris Rock. And they're like, in Russell's loft. And they're like, sing for us. And like, Montel's mind was blown. I mean, I could have probably put a napkin in front of him and like, here's your contract. And he would have signed it. You know? So yeah, he put that part in the song, you know what I mean? Because the song was made after that. Yeah, yeah. So it was definitely, you know.
It was definitely kind of real. Like,
yeah, it was pretty real.
Do you have, are there more songs where they reference you that you know of?
I mean, that's the biggest one.
Obviously, because he literally mentioned you.
Yeah, I got a few shout outs at the end. I mean, I got a couple small cameos. I'm in the Pass Me By video, but like if you blink, you'll miss it. Yeah. I'm in the Far Side's Your Mama video, also really fast. I have a pretty cool cameo in the Fantastic Voyage video where I'm in it twice, actually. Like first.
Oh, I got to revisit that one.
Yeah, Coolio comes up to me. I had this beautiful convertible BMW. And in the scene, I'm in the thing, but they have me wearing like a tie, which was something I would have never worn.
So you had to be that white man.
Well, and also too, I had a white family. I had the blonde wife and the two white kids. They were actually the family of photographer Michael Miller, who I later did this great hip hop.
They were not your family.
No, I didn't have any. I still don't. But anyway, so in the scene in Fantastic Voyage, he pulls up to me and hey. And then I get out of my car and I get into his trunk. And then he pulls up at the beach. You know, it was like an optical illusion. And at the beach, everyone's getting out the trunk. And when I get out the trunk, I got my hat backwards.
Right. I remember.
Right? So there's I have a pretty cool cameo in that video. But no, I didn't get too many shout outs, but you know, and there might be more I'm not thinking of, but you know, I was never the one like put my name in the song.
No. I know that about you, but I was just wondering because I would imagine that if you've done so much for certain artists that they would mention you somewhere in a line or even a reference, not necessarily by name, but a story that you were part of.
Sure.
I was going to ask you, you know, being in this industry, I've talked to a lot of artists. I've done, this is number 67 in the What Now series. I've done interviews for the past 15 years, and we always come to a conclusion. There are so many lessons to be learned in this industry, especially in the hip hop industry. What is for you the biggest lesson, the biggest mistake that you made that turned into the biggest lesson?
Wow. Well, I'll tell a little short story first that's humorous. And this spoke to when I was having the most amount of success. And because when you talk to people, a lot of people won't say, oh, Paul has a big ego or anything like that. I'm not known for that. But when I was having the most success, you know, you do start to feel yourself a little bit. And you do things that are a little out of character that you wouldn't have done before. You know what I mean? And when we were shooting the Fantastic Voyage video, it was the first video that F. Gary Gray had ever directed. Mm-hmm. And the decision to hire him was a joint decision made by the guy, Tommy Boy, the video commissioner, Coolio, and myself. Coolio and myself were already friends with Gary Gray. He was like a PA on a hip hop show called Pump It Up. That was actually the show D. Barnes hosted. But anyway, so we hired him. jointly. He did the video. It was looking amazing. And when we had a conference call about the edit or whatever, I, at that time, always asked like the video companies or producers, directors to send me like all the raw footage. I wasn't trying to tell them to do their job. I just wanted to scan through it and be like, hey, you forgot our homie. He's got to be in it. And we had a lot of cameos in that. B-Reels in it, Big Boys in it, right, in this video. And Gary Gray, I think, was thinking that I was going to like try to like, tell him, put this.
What to do, yeah.
Yeah. And he says, oh, I don't do that. And you got to understand, this is his first music video ever. And at this time, I'm managing Coolio, Far Side. I got my Def Jam label deal and everything. And I said to him, oh, well, we won't be working together again. and just as my life turns into me being a music supervisor. And here's probably one of the biggest black directors out of LA who I've known since Dirt. And I don't know if that's why he never hired me, but it certainly could be. You know what I mean? It certainly could be. And I mean, I don't think, I see Gary, he's kind of a recluse, so I don't see him a lot. But every time I've seen him, he never gave me bad energy or anything like that. But I certainly bugged him. Like,
that may have set the tone for this relationship. That may set the tone for that.
Yeah, so that was a mistake. Letting my ego get involved. Yeah. I could have had that thought, but to communicate it like that.
But you learned from it because you never did that with anybody else again. So
and I try to tell this story, when I speak to younger people on the panels and stuff like that.
And this is why
that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, when I was having the height of my success, it came to me. I mean, I grinded my way up from street promoting, managing, and like that. But when the success started, it came very quickly. Yeah. And I think I took it for granted instead of doubling down on my work ethic. I was enjoying the fruits of my labor. And then when those opportunities that were also available for me right then weren't available later, I didn't realize that it would be like that. You know what I mean? So definitely like take advantage when the opportunity is happening and like it's good to enjoy life. I mean, like I certainly don't regret, like I see some people's past and I go, okay, they made more money and did this, but I wasn't that. I couldn't have lived. I couldn't have done all that. So okay, it's cool.
Yeah, but everybody lives their path. Everybody walks their path, their journey, and they may have made more money, but they may not have done all the things that you did that you wanted to do. Sometimes we look at people's success and they have made a lot of money, but you don't know how to actually feel. They may have, regretted having taken that one turn towards the money instead of taking the turn towards what they love.
Yeah.
We don't know that because they don't necessarily talk about that.
No.
They feel pressured into, I have to be happy because I have all this money and I have success. So we don't know.
Right.
As long as you're happy, and you've done what you did, then you made it. Yeah.
No, and the music industry and the hip hop industry especially makes it worse because everything's supposed to be like, oh, everything's great. Everything's always great. You can't never admit like any weaknesses or anything.
Right. Exactly.
So people are always saying how great everything is even when they're dying inside or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's changing now because we're all now talking about our mental health and even in hip hop today, the newer generation, it's all emo stuff, which is great. Yeah. So that's something that I think is good that has changed. I mean, there's still the boasting and the bragging, but then there's also the the vulnerable side that we have to tap into. I do want to shout out John Singleton, rest in peace, because I actually got a chance to meet him a couple of years ago, and he was the nicest guy.
Oh,
and he had invited me out to go on his boat. He had this boat and he would turn his phone off and stuff. And I never got the chance to do that because by the time I went back to LA, he literally a few months before that, he passed away. So I'm just blessed to have known him as well. A legend in the game.
Yeah, no, of all the people who looked out for me and helped me out, and there's a lot of them, he had the most impact on my career for sure. And it's crazy because, you take it for granted when they're still around a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when he passed, it was like, whoa, and it was interesting too, because we were tight. We'd had our ups and downs in our friendship, but it had been strong for a long time. But right before he passed, he got me hired on Snowfall for season 3.
Yeah.
I didn't work on the first 2 seasons, and we were close as ever before he passed. You know, and we were having long conversations about, you know, because I was dealing with the music, you know, he was dealing with some battles about trying to get certain music that he wanted, and they weren't paying for it. And so we were having like in-depth conversations about just all kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I owe the world to him, you know, and the fact that he believed in me and trusted me to help him with his musical vision on so many projects is kind of like, I can just drop the mic at that. If, you know, like you said, how am I going to respond to people? I'm going to be like, well, John Singleton thought I was good. Yeah. So, you know, he was obviously, you know, and John went out of his way to hire people of color too, in many, many positions, you know, and I think with me, he found a kindred spirit, and it, you know, not because for John, what's most important in the really important creative positions was somebody who's going to deliver his vision. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, he loved hiring people of color. He loved helping people of color. And John loved that I was from the neighborhood. You know what I mean? And John lived in Crenshaw up until he died. You know what I mean? So he stayed in the neighborhood, and, you know, and he loved that about me, that I was, he would brag, oh, Paul's from the hood. No, he was an incredible guy, super nice guy. He was
so nice. I had, he invited me together with, because I met him through Malik Yoba, and he invited us to be his guest at the premiere of Snowfall in Dallas when we were there. So that's how me and him got to bond. And after the premiere, we went out to a restaurant to eat, and it was just the 3 of us in the whole restaurant. It was about to close. And he told me so much things about the show and how to work and how it, you know, I got to know him so well within like the day that I met him. And then we kept in touch, but unfortunately I live on this side of the world, so I wasn't able to hang out. But I feel very honored that I had a chance to get to know this genius, because everybody that knows hip hop culture, hip hop films, you know, they know who John Singleton is.
Sure.
So, and honestly, I kind of feel that way about you as an industry person. Like anybody that knows the history of the industry, your name should be right up there with the Russell Simmonses and whoever. So I'm happy that you're actually, you know, putting out the trailer. And of course, the first thing I ask is, when can I see the movie? So what is the timeline? What is your plan?
Okay.
What are the things?
So we're hoping to release next summer, and the response after we put the trailer has been really phenomenal. So we might have some really exciting partners, and we're prepared to do it ourselves if we have to, but that's not going to happen because people are lining up. And what's exciting is, like, some incredible like documentary film people are interested in helping us, and I'm also getting interest from some heavyweights in the scripted like series department. So there's companies that want to develop it as like loosely based on my life, a Netflix style like series, you know what I mean? And there's people that want to develop the documentary. So it's been a little overwhelming since we dropped the trailer, the response. And I mean, some of the cool people that have told me it was amazing were, let's see, Snoop, Muggs from Cypress Hill, Issa Rae, DJ Pooh, Shaw Money, Ricky Powell, Glenn Friedman.
Everyone's gonna line up to watch that. If you're gonna do a premiere for the movie or the series, it's gonna be another Corona outbreak on the red carpet.
Well, hopefully Corona won't be a big deal by the time we come out. Right?
We will. Hope so.
But companies that I'm talking to are talking about trying to get it at like next year's Sundance and things like that. So like, that's kind of a dream for me. I mean, just, you know, it's like I said, it's a little overwhelming because I've always been kind of the behind the scenes guy. And you know, I'm not really super comfortable with like being upfront on camera. It's not really my thing to be like, oh, I'm always pushing other people. You know what I mean?
But you deserve it. Your story is it. I want to see the story. Like I'm actually mad that you put out the trailer before I even know when to see it. Because now I'm like, what do I do? How long do I have to wait? It's already so long.
Well, maybe we can give you some other maybe we give some other media as we go, you know, because we will be working on it. So maybe we can drop some other, you know, scenes or whatever. Because
the first thing I thought as well about the trailers, now I'm not nowhere near as interesting as you, but if I would make a documentary about my life, my little life, I wouldn't even have all that type of footage. I thought it was very interesting how you put that together. And with most of the documentaries and the biopics that I see, I'm just so like impressed with all the footage that they can come up with. How did you gather all of that for this trailer?
Well, it was a combination. I mean, first of all, one really smart thing I did was about 10 years ago, there's an incredible hip hop historian out of Los Angeles named Matthew McDaniel, who was like the only guy filming hip hop in LA back in the day. Like when Scott LaRock and KRS-One came to LA and performed at World on Wheels, he interviewed them. The Dr. Dre pool parties, he was filming videos at. He had the big ass camera that you hold on your thing. I mean, So I mean, video equipment was, you know, not some little thing you could just hold back then. And it was expensive, and there was just very little people filming.
Right.
So
that's why I asked,
Right. I licensed from Matt. And because I was friends with Matt, and I would help, and I was doing like the street promotion stuff, I would bring, so-and-so's coming to LA for a show, or we're doing this party for this LA group. And so I would connect him with things to film, and so sometimes he would film me, you know what I mean? And things like that. So there happened to be some footage of me in my office with this guy, Jamar, a Jamaican.
I remember Jamar.
Right.
I met him.
And that's in the trailer, but I licensed from him footage that he had of me from a few different things. And then I also licensed from him some archival footage that he had of some of the acts that I worked with. Matt's footage ain't cheap, and so I made that investment back then, and you know what he's getting for it now is even more. But I paid him. Everybody knew Matt, and when I came to Matt, he was like, everybody wants this shit for free, and I was like, Matt, here's some money.
I'll pay you for it,
and let's work out the deal. And I sat on that shit for like 10 years. And I was like scared that, hard drive to hard drive, finally I got on.
Then you're going to lose it.
I was scared I was going to lose it because, hard drives crash and like, what are you going to do, And so I
it's funny. I actually, the first time I went to LA, I carried this big ass camera around.
Oh, wow.
I actually rented a camera for my first trip to LA. I have that footage on VHS.
Nice.
I have to digitalize it because I actually went into Watts. I had to do the Watts Towers and everything. I walked everywhere with this big ass camera, not scared that I was going to get robbed or anything because people were like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "I'm fine." And I actually did a mini interview at the gas station when I got to LA with one of the, I guess, the gang members who was showing off gang tattoos or whatever, and I was just there with my big camera. I have to digitalize that footage because
you do. I might be able to license. Maybe I can license some of it from you for my doc. Sounds like
you know what? Yeah, I have a lot of footage from running around there as a tourist.
Hey, digitize that stuff. I might have a check for you. I
have to do that. You know what? I should. Yeah, and I was surprised that people were so open in front of my big camera. Once they heard I was from Amsterdam, that was it.
Right.
Amsterdam? Oh. And everybody was just wanting to be in the video. That's been laying in the garage of my brother.
I love hearing that story though, because I like people have this reputation of LA with drive-bys and this and so bad. It's a little over at the top. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say there aren't dangerous places in LA or things like that.
It was fine. It was for me coming from here, knowing all the movies.
Yeah.
It was 99, I think, my first time coming there.
Right.
And I stayed in Gardena. with
Sure.
my friends, and I still have my friends in Gardena there, and they were driving me around, and I met a lot of people, and people that were supposed to be members of certain street gangs, but they were all nice because I was there with a local, I guess. And I had a great time. I, rolled over Crenshaw, did the Rosecrans and whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you were in the hood. Gardena's
yeah.
low-key the hood. It's right next to Compton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Gardena.
Yeah.
And I go to Gardena every time I'm in LA because my family lives there. Like, I'm so close. That's my family. So I've been coming there for like 20-something years.
Nice.
And Novelist knows because I think I was in Gardena when I met up with him. So yeah.
Small world.
But yeah, I'm looking at the time. There are questions from people.
Okay.
So let's see. This is my friend Hip Hop Collector. He's like one of the biggest hip hop vinyl collections there are. Can't you bring the Far Side back together to perform as one? Now, that's a question that a lot of people have asked already.
It's
I don't think that'll happen.
I'm just gonna real quickly speak to that. What's interesting is the guy who cut my trailer. The way we met is he wrote a Far Side biopic, and he tracked me down and sent it to me. And it's really good. And it's interesting because he's a younger guy. He wasn't around when the Far Side was coming out or anything, but his older brother turned him on to it or whatever, And so I'm going to be dealing with trying to deal with the whole Far Side, which is never easy these days, it seems, But I mean, they've turned down, they turned down a record deal from Kanye West at the height of, they turned down a record deal from Will.i.am at the height of his. They turned down a lot of deals, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. But maybe through the course of working on a biopic with them or something, I would
maybe
certainly
for
try.
that.
I've been able to, I have good relationships with all 4 members, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll
so
see.
I will try. Try.
Yeah, he's going to try.
Yeah. I would love that.
It was Brown's birthday last week, wasn't it? Or when was it? It just passed. I talked to him. There's another, here's Novelist, or as we know him now, is MC Nice. He says he has enough stories to a docuseries. Is that something he's considered? Well, okay, I guess you answered that question already, that you're thinking about the docuseries or the somewhat Netflix type series. Yeah,
but a docuseries is different though. Yeah, but we are
true.
Considering that. It kind of depends who the partner is.
Okay.
But even if we only do the documentary film, we'll probably do like a podcast or something, or maybe even just like YouTube videos or some kind of other format, because I have too much to tell. It's probably not going to fit in a whole movie.
I'm trying to fit things in 1 hour. We have 8 minutes left.
Okay.
So yeah, let's try to keep the answers short because I have a few more questions.
Sure.
Who was the artist that made the biggest impact on you working with them?
Probably Coolio, because we worked together for 5 years, and like most of my management relationships were a lot shorter. And so, I came when I met Coolio, he lived in Nickerson Gardens in Watts, and then I managed him till after he won a Grammy for Gangster's Paradise. So
what year was that? What year? Because I saw him perform over here. I don't know if you came with him for that show out here. I think that was 97.
Oh, ironic. That is one of the places I came. But
it was with Montel, I think, and it was with Junior Mafia was on that lineup. It was in Rotterdam.
I don't think so.
It was with H-Town. It was anyway.
Yeah.
He was performing as a headliner. He was last, and we were there from 11 a.m. till like 9 p.m.
Wow.
And I was in the front of this big arena. And by the time he got on, everybody was tired, and we were the only ones waving around in the front. So he kept singing to us, rapping to us, because we were the only energetic people left. That's my memory of Coolio. I never got to meet him in person.
Oh, he's a wild guy. Good guy.
Well, get him to do a live with me, and I can tell him this story. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so Coolio was the best to work with. Who are there? You've worked with so many people. Is there anybody that you would still want to work with on whatever level?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I talked to Coolio for 2 hours the other night, and he actually told me firing me was the worst decision he ever made in his career. I was like, well, let's get it back together,
That's great.
I'm cool with all my old clients, so I got love for everybody, and Warren, is a guy that, I talked to a fair amount lately, and yeah, no, I love all my old clients, and I'm down to work with any of them. If
No, I mean anybody new that you haven't worked with.
Oh,
yeah, like you've worked
Kendrick
with so
Lamar.
many people. Who?
Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, Kendrick Lamar, that's an awesome one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan, and I've never even met him or anything. So I'm
well,
putting
let me
that out
tell
in the
you this.
universe.
So my family in Gardena, one of my best friends, he was the teacher of Kendrick Lamar in high school.
Wow.
And they're really tight. So he actually took me to Kendrick's concert in Amsterdam and introduced me to him. So I met
him the trailer.
Huh?
Send your friend the trailer.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm definitely gonna do that. Yeah.
And I mean, when you did the song "Poetic Justice," I was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Now Kendrick would be down to meet me. He's got a song called "Poetic Justice." Does he want to meet the guy who did the music?
Yeah. No, you know what? I'll try and work my magic.
Okay.
I can do what I can. This is what I mean with the whole connecting thing. Like I may know people you don't know, but
well, you're in Amsterdam. That's definitely people I don't know.
But yeah, okay. But for me to know people out there, I still sometimes sit here and think I'm just this random girl from not even I was born here, but I grew up outside of Amsterdam. I'm back here. But yeah, I'm just like, I know so many people in the industry, but I've worked for it too. This is my passion as well. Yeah. And I'm actually finishing my book this year, so I may have to come back to you for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, before we close out,
yeah.
I know I can talk to you for 5 more hours, so we may have to do a follow-up towards, the series or the whatever it is going to be. Thank you for wanting to be on here and sharing stories, and hearing all these things is great, and we can't wait to see the actual story on screen.
Thank you.
Is there anything, a life motto or an advice that you live by that you want to give out to people?
Yeah, I got a good one. Put art first. Like we work in the music business or we work in the entertainment business. So yeah, sometimes I get a job and it's about making the money. I'm doing a job because I want to get paid. But like if I meet a young filmmaker and he's talented and he doesn't have the money to pay for me, then I'm just going to help him. If I meet a young artist, I think they're amazing. But so if you put the art first in the business dealings, then I think it'll pay off. Like I do favors for people all the time because I know I like them and this and that. I don't have to make money off of it.
Right.
Helping out the people, and I love what they do, and that tends to come back. So I would say put the art first, and operate with integrity, because that's coming back right now to really pay off for me.
Yeah.
The reason that people are resonating with my trailer, like if I had been the guy who was like suing artists when they fired me as a manager, or just any kind of exploitive type of practice or anything, there would be no trailer right now. You know what I mean? And so, like operate with integrity, learn as much as you can about the business, because it's a very difficult and dicey business. And I came into it with very little knowledge. You know what I mean? And so I learned by knocking my head against the wall. And so I try to, I'm in Leimert Park giving like publishing seminars to young artists, like on a daily and stuff. So I love to spread my knowledge, and, and I'm still learning. Like you're going to keep, never think that you know everything. Yeah.
Because it's also an ever-changing industry. That's what people have to understand.
That's
we went from analog to digital.
Yeah.
That on itself, like having to promote people, and you coming out of, your promotions company, this all changed within the span of 20 years or 30 years. So, you have to keep learning.
Learn from the youth too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get back
and learn from each other. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And everybody that came on, I appreciate it. Any sharing of the trailer is a huge help to me, because we're still trying to, get it funded and completely, but it's happening incredibly well. And I'll keep you abreast of updates, and so you can tell your audience and everything. And thanks so much for the opportunity to tell some of my stories on your live. I appreciate it so much. I'm in the Caribbean. It's hot as hell. I hope I wasn't sweating too much. But
no, that's fine. No. I'm just, first of all, I'm happy to know you. Thank you, Brown. And I'm very excited about, getting to know your journey on the screen. Thank you so much for wanting to do this, and I will be in touch. And stay safe out there, and stay safe in LA too.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Have a wonderful day. Talk soon. Bye.
So that was the incredible story in short from Paul Stewart. If you are interested in watching the trailer, go to his Instagram and click on the link in his bio. We're all rooting for him to get this series or this film or whatever he's going to make it into, see it next year. I have one more live talk next week, and then I'm going out for this year. I'm going to take a break. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you tune in on Monday. I have the incredible Mr. Dalvin from Jodeci. Yes, also one of the old school legends. So tune in on Monday, and stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys.